my people, my brothers, my sisters, my children of Africa, I stand before you not as a king in golden robes, not as a puppet of foreign powers, not as a servant to those who have long enslaved the continent, but as a soldier of the revolution, as a son of the soil who has taken up the rifle not for wealth, but for the dignity of our people. For too long, America and Europe have come to us with two faces, one smiling, pretending to bring aid, and the other hiding the knife that bleeds Africa dry. They come to take our gold, our oil, our land, and even the minds of our children. They bring their flags, their corporations, their soldiers, their so-called development partners, but always, the purpose is the same, to keep Africa on its knees. They say they bring democracy, yet they choose our leaders for us. They say they bring freedom, yet they control our banks, our borders, and our skies. They say they bring peace, yet they flood our land with weapons and mercenaries. And when an African leader stands up and says, "No more," the West calls him a dictator, a criminal, a danger to stability. When I took the mantle of leadership in Burkina Faso, I was not chosen by Paris, by Washington, or by Brussels. I was chosen by the will of my people and the courage of my comrades. I was still young, only a student, when I felt the fire of injustice burn inside me. I joined the army not to serve a flag of the colonizer, but to learn discipline, strategy, and the art of defending our homeland. Some ask, how could a young man rise so quickly? I tell you, it is because I refused to bow. Because I did not shake hands with those who steal from Africa. Because I walked with the soldiers, ate the same food, slept on the same ground, and understood their hunger for change. In 2022, without spilling the blood of my brothers, we took back power from the hands of a weak regime that bowed before France and the United States. The coup was not an act of greed, it was an act of liberation. Overnight, the flag of surrender came down, and the flag of resistance went up. But my people, let me tell you this, when you challenge America and Europe, you declare war on the richest and most powerful thieves in history. They do not forgive, they do not sleep, they send spies, assassins, drones, and propaganda. They pay your friends to betray you, your neighbors to doubt you, and your enemies to attack you. That is why I live under a wall of steel. That is why in the capital Ouagadougou, a palace had to be built not as a monument to my vanity, but as a fortress of the revolution. Its walls are thick not to keep the people out, but to keep foreign agents from assassinating your leader. Its bulletproof rooms are not for luxury, but for survival when the bombs fall. Its secret basements are not for storing gold, but for storing the plans and communications that keep our struggle alive. Yes, I travel in a Mercedes-Benz S680 Guard Edition. The West calls it opulence, but I call it armor. They would prefer I ride in a rusted pickup, so their snipers can take an easy shot. But my car can take bullets from an AK-47, blasts from a grenade, even an RPG strike, and I remain alive to fight another day. It is soundproof, not so I can enjoy silence, but so that no listening device from Washington or Paris can hear my plans. It carries its own oxygen system, not for comfort, but for survival in case of chemical attack. When I move, a convoy of 20 vehicles surrounds me. The West points and says, "See, he is afraid of his own people." No, my people. I am afraid of their people, the agents of the CIA, the DGSE, the mercenaries who disguise themselves as journalists, the infiltrators who smile at us while carrying poison in their pockets. My escorts are not soldiers of oppression, they are guardians of the revolution. They say I fly in private jets. Yes, the Gulfstream G650ER and the Dassault Falcon 8X. But tell me, should your leader fly on commercial flights so that NATO agents can plant a bomb in the luggage hold? Should I sit in an airport lounge while their spies photograph my every move? These jets are not for my leisure. They are airborne command centers, secure from satellite intrusion, with encrypted channels that the NSA cannot crack. In the skies, we plan our next moves against the imperialists, beyond the reach of their listening posts. They accuse me of owning a yacht worth hundreds of millions. I say this, it is not a yacht, it is a floating fortress. It sails where Western warships cannot follow without drawing attention. It carries secure communications, meeting rooms, and safe quarters where I can gather allies from across Africa, away from the ears of foreign intelligence. Its marble floors and gold staircases, symbols, my people, symbols to show the West that Africa too can live in splendor without begging from the IMF. They speak of properties in Istanbul, Dubai, Geneva, Paris. They whisper about secret bank accounts and offshore companies, and yes, I do control wealth, but not for my personal pleasure. That wealth is the war chest of the revolution. Without it, we cannot arm our soldiers, feed our fighters, educate our children, and build the infrastructure the West refuses to fund unless we bend the knee. Do you think America fights its wars with only courage? No, they fight with billions of dollars, with hidden accounts, with offshore logistics. So why should Africa's war for freedom not be funded the same way? The $12 million home in Istanbul is a safe house for allies and African leaders who cannot meet openly. The villa in Dubai is a vault for the gold that the West would steal if it stayed in our banks. The accounts in Geneva, they are for the day when sanctions try to starve us. When the West freezes one account, we open another. This is how you fight an enemy who wears a suit instead of a uniform. They call me hypocrite. They say he promised simplicity, but he lives like a king. My answer is this: a poor man cannot fight the rich. If I walk barefoot, they will crush me with boots. If I ride a donkey, they will run me over with tanks. To face the empire, you must match its armor, its speed, its reach, and then surpass it. But know this, my people, I have not forgotten where I came from. I have not forgotten the dust of the village, the hunger in the night, the blood of those who died without medicine because France took our resources. I have not forgotten the humiliation of seeing our leaders fly to Paris to beg for aid while our miners dig gold for French companies. I have not forgotten the lies of America, who speaks of democracy while building military bases on African soil without our consent. The West fears me not because of my cars, my jets, or my palaces. They fear me because I tell you the truth, that Africa can be free without them. That we can trade with each other, defend each other, and feed each other. That we do not need their loans, their humanitarian aid that comes with chains, or their endless lectures about good governance while they rob the world blind. They want to paint me as corrupt so that you will doubt the revolution. They want to divide you so that their companies can keep drilling our oil, mining our gold, and cutting down our forests. But I tell you, no matter what they say, no matter what lies they publish, the revolution will not stop. We will unite with Mali, Niger, and every African nation that dares to stand up. We will expel every foreign soldier who occupies our land. We will take back our resources, our markets, and our dignity. We will educate our children in the truth of Africa's greatness, not the lies of colonial textbooks. So when you hear them say, Traoré is rich, remember, they are angry not because I am rich, but because I am African and unafraid. When they say he hides his wealth, remember, I hide it from them, not from you. When they say he lives in luxury, remember, that luxury is a shield, a sword, and a message to the world that Africa will no longer be the beggar at the gate. Brothers and sisters, the road ahead is dangerous. The West will not surrender without a fight. They will try to assassinate me, to bribe my generals, to flood our country with drugs and mercenaries. But I promise you this, I will not run, I will not bow, I will not sign our freedom away. If I must die, I will die standing, and another will rise in my place. The sun is rising on a new Africa, an Africa that wears its own crown, builds its own armies, and writes its own destiny. Stand with me, stand with each other, and together we will break the chains that America and Europe have wrapped around our continent for centuries. Africa will be free not tomorrow, not next year, but in our lifetime, my people. For centuries, America and Europe have dressed their greed in the clothes of friendship. They speak of democracy, but their hands are stained with the blood of our ancestors. They preach human rights, yet they enslave our economies, dictate our politics, and steal the very wealth beneath our soil. They have never forgiven Africa for daring to stand tall. They have never accepted that the black man can rule himself without bowing to a white master. Look at our history. Their ships once came to take our people in chains, and now their corporations come to take our gold, our uranium, our oil. The chains have changed shape, but the slavery continues. When they speak to us, they call us partners. But what is partnership when one side controls the resources, the banks, the weapons, and the media? America sends its soldiers under the banner of security, yet their true mission is to guard their economic interests. Europe builds military bases, not to protect Africans, but to ensure that no African dares to rise beyond their control. They pretend to bring aid, but their aid is poisoned with debt. They say they give us loans, but those loans come with demands. Privatize your land, sell your water, open your markets so their products destroy our farmers. And when an African leader refuses, they call him a dictator, they sanction him, they isolate him, or they send their mercenaries to remove him. I tell you, Africa will no longer bow. We will no longer accept the role of a silent servant in a global empire built on our suffering. The time has come to reject their false narratives, to tear off the mask of development that hides their exploitation. America and Europe fear a strong, united Africa because they know their power is built on our division. That is why they fund our conflicts, arm our enemies, and bribe our leaders. But we will rise above their traps. We will educate our people, guard our resources, and build our future with our own hands. Let it be clear, Africa is not for sale, and Africans will not be slaves to any foreign power again. The enemies of Africa whisper lies. They point to my cars, my aircraft, my guarded palace, and they say, "He is living like the West he condemns." But they do not understand, these are not the spoils of greed, they are the shields of survival. When you stand against America and Europe, you do not face ordinary opponents. You face empires that have overthrown governments, assassinated leaders, and turned nations into ashes. They killed Lumumba, they killed Sankara, they killed Gaddafi, not because these men were corrupt, but because they dared to say no. Shall I walk unprotected when I have chosen the same path? The palace they criticize is not built for comfort, it is built as a fortress. Its walls are thick not to keep the people out, but to keep the assassins and the bombs of foreign mercenaries at bay. The cars I ride are not symbols of luxury. They are moving fortresses, armored against the bullets of imperial agents who fear the truth I speak. My private jets are not for pleasure trips to Paris or New York. They are tools of war in the new battlefield. When America moves its drones and Europe sends its spies, I must move faster. I must meet our allies in hours, not days. I must negotiate weapons, food, and medicine for my people before sanctions choke us. Yes, I have wealth, but it is not stolen from the people. Every resource I control, every property I own abroad is a weapon in this struggle. In Istanbul, in Dubai, in Geneva, those assets are not hidden treasures. They are reserves for the revolution. They are funds to buy grain when the West starves us, fuel when they blockade us, medicine when they ban our imports. Make no mistake, if I walked alone and poor, the West would cheer because they could strike me down with ease. But with every layer of security, every piece of armor, every safe haven abroad, I deny them the easy kill they desire. I do not live in luxury, I live in a battlefield without front lines. My life is not comfort, my life is a target, and I will use every means, every tool, every fortress, to defend Africa's fight for freedom. I was not born in a palace. I was not raised by kings. I was a son of the soil, born under the sun of Burkina Faso, walking the same dusty roads as my people, drinking from the same wells, feeling the same hunger, facing the same storms of poverty and despair. I wore no golden crown, only the simple uniform of a soldier. But I carried in my heart a fire that no storm could put out. The fire of liberation. I saw my people toil while our gold, our cotton, our land were taken away by foreign hands. I saw leaders speak the language of the West more fluently than the cries of their own people. I saw promises of freedom turn into contracts of slavery, signed in the backrooms of Paris and Washington. I joined the army not for rank or reward, but because I knew that the battle for Africa would not be won in speeches alone. It would be fought with courage, discipline, and sacrifice. From the first day in uniform, I saw the sickness in our system, corruption that ate through the ranks, orders that served foreign masters instead of our people, and I swore silently that one day I would break that chain. Years passed, and I rose through the ranks faster than some believed possible, not because I sought power, but because I refused to be silent. I stood for my men, I refused bribes, I spoke the truth when others whispered lies. And in the shadows I watched, and I prepared. Then came the year 2022. The people were tired tired of leaders who bowed to the West, tired of a country rich in soil but poor in stomachs, tired of seeing our youth flee across deserts and seas in search of dignity. The moment came, and I knew history does not knock twice. We struck without spilling a river of blood. In a single night, the chains of a foreign-backed presidency were broken. The palace gates opened, not to welcome a king, but to shelter a soldier of the people. I was not lifted by foreign gold, nor by the promises of the West. I was lifted by the will of my brothers in arms and the cry of the people. From that moment, the mask of the enemy fell. America and Europe, those who called themselves our friends, showed their true faces. They sent warnings, they sent threats, they sent offers of help wrapped in chains. But I told them, Burkina Faso is not your farm, and I am not your overseer. My rise to power was not a climb, it was a rebellion. It was the answer to decades of humiliation, the answer to centuries of exploitation. I did not come to decorate the old house of slavery. I came to burn it to the ground and build a fortress of freedom in its place. But let us be clear, this revolution is not mine alone. It belongs to every farmer who refuses to sell his land for a foreign coin, every mother who teaches her child the truth of our history, every soldier who chooses loyalty to the people over loyalty to the West. I am here today not because I am the strongest, but because I am willing to risk everything, my life, my name, my blood, to see Africa stand as master of its own destiny. And if I must fall for that dream, I will fall with my fists clenched and my eyes fixed on the horizon of freedom. They tell you that I have accounts in foreign banks, that I have houses in distant cities, that I have resources hidden from the eyes of the people. They whisper these things to make you doubt, to make you believe that I have abandoned the cause. But I tell you today, every coin, every stone, every key I hold beyond our borders is not a symbol of betrayal, but a weapon of strategy. Understand this, we face enemies who fight not with open armies alone, but with banks, with sanctions, with economic sieges. They do not simply send their soldiers, they send their bankers, their corporations, their agents to choke our revolution from the inside. And if we depend only on what they allow us to have, we will die before we even begin to fight. I learned from the history of our continent, when the West decides to destroy a leader, they freeze his accounts, seize his assets, and block his access to the world. They make him a prisoner before they kill him. That is why our revolution cannot live hand to mouth. We must have reserves, fuel for the fire when the storm of sanctions comes. Yes, there is a villa in Dubai. Yes, there is a penthouse in Istanbul. Yes, there are vaults in Geneva, but they are not palaces for my leisure. They are warehouses for the survival of our cause. Inside them are not just gold and money, but food contracts, fuel agreements, medical supplies, and safe channels for trade when the doors of Europe and America slam shut on us. When the West tries to starve us, we will buy grain from the East with funds they cannot touch. When they block our ports, we will fuel our tractors and our tanks from reserves they cannot see. When they deny us medicine, we will fly it in from the corners of the world they cannot control. Even the choice of locations is deliberate. Dubai is a crossroads of global trade. Istanbul is the bridge between continents. Geneva is the fortress of finance. Each place is chosen not for beauty but for access, access that will keep the arteries of our revolution pumping when the enemy tries to cut them. And make no mistake, these resources are not mine. They belong to the movement, to the people, to the future of Burkina Faso and Africa. I am only their guardian until the day they must be unleashed. The West calls this corruption. I call it preparation. They call it greed. I call it survival. Because when they come for us, and they will come, our hidden resources will be the difference between a revolution that burns out in a year and a revolution that burns for a century. We stand today on a continent that has been chained for centuries, first by the iron shackles of slavery, then by the colonial gun, and now by the invisible hand of economic domination. They have taken our gold, our diamonds, our oil, our land, and in return they have given us debt, division, and dependency. But I tell you now, the time of Africa's awakening has come. When I speak of a free Africa, I do not speak of flags and anthems alone. I speak of a continent that can feed itself, defend itself, and speak for itself without seeking permission from Paris, Washington, or Brussels. I speak of an Africa whose resources enrich its own children before they fill the pockets of foreign corporations. A free Africa will not beg for aid while its soil holds the minerals that power the modern world. We will not export cocoa for cents and import chocolate for dollars. We will not sell uranium for pennies only to buy electricity at a price written in foreign capitals. We will transform our resources here on African soil with African hands for African markets. But to be free, we must be united. No single African country, no matter how brave, can defeat the combined forces of imperialism alone. Burkina Faso cannot win without Mali. Mali cannot win without Niger. Niger cannot win without Congo. And Congo cannot win without South Africa. Our strength lies not in the flags that divide us, but in the blood and history that unite us. The Africa I dream of will have its own military alliance, not to invade, but to defend, its own financial institutions, not to lend at interest, but to invest in our people, its own media, not to spread Western lies, but to tell our truth to the world. I see an Africa where our young engineers design the roads, where our scientists make the medicine, where our farmers feed the nation without imported seeds, where our children learn our history before they memorize theirs. I see an Africa where no foreign soldier patrols our streets, no foreign base sits on our soil, no foreign judge decides our fate. And let it be known, this freedom will not be given to us. No empire has ever handed power to the oppressed out of kindness. We must take it, we must build it, we must defend it. The road will be long, and the enemy will be ruthless. They will try to buy us, to divide us, to kill us. But if we stand as one, they cannot defeat us. So rise, Africa. Rise from Cape Town to Cairo, from Dakar to Dar es Salaam. Let the drums of unity drown out the whispers of division. Let the fire of freedom burn in every village, every city, every heart. The time of Africa begging is over. The time of Africa ruling its destiny has begun.